Well, good morning, everybody. My name is Councillor Stephen Holliday. I'm the chair of the Etobicoke York Community Council. Okay. I'm now calling meeting 2 to order since we have quorum. Welcome, everybody. Today's meeting is being held with city staff, participating both by video conference and in person at the Etobicoke Civic Centre in the council chamber. The Etobicoke Civic Centre is open to the public and anyone is welcome to attend the meeting today. The public may continue to participate electronically by video conference. This meeting is also being live streamed online at youtube.com/Toronto City Council Live. The list of speakers can be viewed online by visiting the Etobicoke York Community Council page at toronto.ca/council and clicking the speakers box for today's meeting. If you are registered to speak at today's meeting, please listen for me to call your name. I will call speakers in the order that they appear on the list. I ask everyone for their patience with any delays and technical issues. I think we're working through one right now. Members, the city clerk has provided all agenda materials on toronto.ca/council and on CMP, the clerk's meeting portal. Clerk's IT staff are available to members if you need help with your devices. When voting on an item or a motion, I ask that members ensure that they turn on their video and raise their hands to indicate their vote should they be joining us by video later. Members, I want to remind you to please submit and approve your motions by email. Staff are available at etcc@toronto.ca to help with motions. Although we may be meeting in different locations today, the committee would like to acknowledge that the land we are meeting on is the traditional territories of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples, and is now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis people. We also acknowledge that Toronto is covered by Treaty 13 with the Mississaugas of the Credit. Are there any declarations of interest under the Municipal Conflict of Interest Act? If you do have an interest, please raise your hand or unmute your mic and indicate the item, number, and the nature of your interest. Seeing none, we will proceed. May I have a motion to confirm the minutes from our meeting on November 28th? Moved by Councillor Crescent. All those in favor? Any opposed? And that is carried. Thank you again. We can now go through the items. The first item is EY 2.1, 3353 to 3359 Lakeshore Boulevard West Official Plan Amendment and Zoning Amendment Application Final Report. As there are 3 speakers registered, I will hold that item in my name. EY 2.2 is 378 to 384 Bering Avenue Zoning Bylaw Amendment Application Final Report. There are 2 speakers registered that, so I will hold that in my name. EY 2.3 is 1 to 9 Oxford Drive Official Plan and Zoning Bylaw Amendments Application Request for Direction Report. Councillor Nunziata, that's your item?
Yes, I will move the staff recommendation.
Councillor Nunziata moves the staff recommendations. All those in favor? Any opposed? And that item is carried. EY 2.4 is 11, 13, 15, 17, 19, 21, and 23 Hollis Street Official Plan Amendment and Zoning Bylaw Amendment Applications Request for Direction Report. Councillor Nunziata, that is under your responsibility?
Yes, I'll move the staff recommendation.
Councillor Nunziata moves the staff recommendations. All those in favor? Any opposed? And that item is carried. EY 2.5, 20 Broadoaks Drive and 11 Catford Road, Official Plan Amendment and Zoning Bylaw Amendment Application, Request for Direction Report. That is in Councillor Peruzza's area. I'm going to just suggest to the committee that we just hold that item down and give the councillor a moment to respond to that. Okay. EY 2.6 is 351 to 365 Royal York Road, Zoning Bylaw Amendment Application, Request for Direction Report. And I do not have speakers for that. So, Councillor Morley.
I'd like to move staff recommendation.
Councillor Morley moves the staff recommendations. All those in favor? Any opposed? And that item is carried. EY 2.7 is 2157 Lakeshore Boulevard West. Official plan amendment and zoning bylaw amendment application request for direction report. Councillor Morley.
Similarly, I'd like to move staff recommendation.
Councillor Morley moves the staff recommendations. All those in favor? Any opposed? That item is carried. EY 2.8, 4, 6, 8, and 10 Beamish Drive, zoning bylaw amendment application, request for direction report. Councillor Morley, there are speakers registered for that, so I'll hold that item in my name. EY 2.9, 102 Shaver Avenue North, request for city solicitor to attend at the Toronto Local Appeal Body. That is in my ward. May I have a volunteer to move that item for me?
I'll move that.
Councillor Morley moves the recommendation before us. All those in favor? Any opposed? That item is carried. EY 2.10, 51 Westroyal Road, request for city solicitor to attend at the Toronto Local Appeal Body. It is also in Ward 2. May I have a volunteer to move that?
I'll move it.
Councillor Nunziata moves the recommendations before us. All those in favor? Any opposed? That is carried. EY 2.11, 14 Atherton Crescent, application to remove a city tree, Ward 3. That is time for 9:45. And that's number 11. I do not have a speaker registered. So that's time for 9:45, so we have to wait. EY 2.12, 15 Albani Street, application to remove a city tree, Ward 3. That is also timed for 9:45, and we do have a speaker registered for that. So we'll hold that. EY 2.13, 82 Buttonwood Avenue, application to remove 2 city trees, Ward 5. That is also timed for 9:45, and we have a speaker. EY 2.14, 94 Prince Edward Drive South, application to remove a city tree, Ward 3. That is also timed for 9:45. We have a speaker registered, so we'll hold that. EY 2.15, Haymarket Road and Kirby Road, all-way stop control, Ward 7. We'll hold that down for Councillor Perruzza. EY 2.16, accessible parking spaces, January 2023, delegated under Ward 5. Councillor Nunziata.
Yes, I'll move the recommendation.
Councillor Nunziata moves the staff recommendations. All those in favor? Any opposed? That item is carried. EY 2.17, Rosemount Avenue and MacDonald Avenue, all-way stop control, Ward 5. Councillor Nunziata.
Yes, I'll move the recommendation.
Councillor Nunziata moves the recommendations. All those in favor? Any opposed? And that item is carried. EY 2.18, permanent closure of a portion of Adele Avenue, Ward 7. That's also Ward 7. We'll hold that down. EY 2.19, Blue Springs Road and Falstaff Avenue, installation of an all-way stop control, Ward 5. Councillor Nunziata.
I'll move the recommendation.
Councillor Nunziata moves the recommendations. All those in favor? All those in favor? Any opposed? And that item carries. EY 2.20, Paulson Road between Trethewey Drive and King George's Drive,
Yes,
poll for traffic calming. Councillor Nunziata.
yes, I'll move that we do a poll.
Councillor Nunziata moves to do a poll. Madam Clerk, you've got that?
Pardon? I'm moving,
Yeah, the rec is to direct the Director of Traffic Management Transportation
To do a
Services to
poll.
request the
Yeah.
city clerk
to do a
and
poll.
so on to do a poll.
Yeah,
So that's a motion to adopt the recommendations that are before us. I'm going to call this slowly. All those in favor? 1, 2, 3. Any opposed? And that item carries. EY 2.21, Dora Spencer Road, parking regulation amendments, Ward 5. Councillor Nunziata.
I'll move the recommendation.
Councillor Nunziata moves the recommendations. All those in favor? Any opposed? That item carries. EY 2.22, temporary signage permit for the Etobicoke Rotary and Toronto Ribfest 2023 community event. That's in Ward 2. May I ask for a volunteer to move that? Councillor Crescent moves the recommendations of EY 2.22 that are before us. All those in favor? Any opposed? And that item carries. EY 2.23, appointments to business improvement areas, boards of management. This covers wards 1, 2, 3, and 5. Any volunteers to move this one?
I'll move it.
Councillor Nunziata moves the recommendations before us. All those in favor? Any opposed? That item carries. Okay, we'll go back to the top of the list. Second to reset my paper here. Okay, our first item is EY 2.1 3353 to 3359 Lakeshore Boulevard West Official Plan Amendment and Zoning Amendment Application Final Report. We have 3 speakers. Our first speaker is David Hune from Bousfields. Is David available?
Good morning, Chair and members of
Morning, David.
Council.
You got 5 minutes.
Morning. Okay. Good morning. My name is David Hunt. I'm a partner at Bousfields, and we are planning consultants acting on behalf of Lakeshore Boulevard GP Inc. With respect to the redevelopment of the lands at 3353 to 3359 Lakeshore Boulevard West. I'm here this morning to speak to the proposal and to put forward our support of staff's recommendation to approve the application for the 6-story mid-rise mixed-use building. Submitted way back in November 2019, I would like to express our gratitude to city staff for getting us here to this point with a positive staff report. This application was submitted just before the start of the pandemic, and staff were able to navigate through the many challenges we all faced, including going virtual with meetings and submissions. We have been working with staff, and through the city planners have received comments from area residents and stakeholders to address the zoning related matters. We feel that the result is an appropriately scaled mid-rise building that conforms to the city's official plan policies, as well as the mid-rise building design guidelines to mitigate matters of transition and massing. Going forward, we will continue to work with staff as part of the site plan approvals process to address the site plan related comments received to date from both staff and from the local stakeholders. I'm in the hands of the chair as to how you'd like me to proceed. I have prepared a very short presentation for the benefit of Councillor Morley and the rest of Community Council that I can share my screen and walk you through, or I can simply just answer any questions that may have. I understand that there are other deputants, so I'm also here to answer any questions that they may have, but I'm in your hands, Mr. Chair.
So I just polled my colleagues. None had questions for you. You've got 3 minutes. The floor is yours for those 3. It's really entirely in your hands if you wish to proceed with the deputation, but there's no indications of questions, and regardless of what you say over the next couple of minutes, you would be entitled to receive questions from them anyways. So it's really up to you.
Okay. Well, I'll just at the risk of a long day for all the members, I'll decline. I won't put up my presentation, and I'm here to answer any questions that may come up for the rest of the time. So thank you for your time.
Thank you for speaking to us. And I'll pause your time, and I'll just do one final check if there's any questions of the speaker. Seeing none, thank you for joining us. I'll call the next speaker, which is Brian Liu from the Long Branch Neighborhood Association. Is Brian available?
Hello. Hi. Hello, morning council. So I'm speaking behalf of Brian Liu.
Okay. Thank you. Welcome to Community Council. Can we just get your name?
So my name is Chloe.
Okay, thank you. Welcome to Community Council. We can hear you. You have 5 minutes to speak to us. Please go ahead.
Okay. So as the owner of 18H Crescent, so we have been informed about the city's plan to develop the lakeshore corridor within the bound of the border plan and the current bylaws. So there are some good points listed in this proposal. However, we do have several concerns about the plan. So first one is is the removal or replacement of the 3 trees near my backyard. I strongly disagree about this plan because I have been live here for almost 2 years, and these trees have blended in my daily life. So there are many creatures live around the trees, which bring the squirrels running back and forth in my backyard every day. So and also my families enjoy to watch these creatures running past by around my backyard. And also these trees is not only provided places for creatures and also shadowing my family. So during the summertime my families can enjoy um enjoy the shadow under the tree. And this tree carries full of our adorable memories, so we are get used to enjoying the shadow produced by the trees. And also the trees keep my property away from the noise of the public buildings and the streets. So it also provides us the privacy. And if you remove the trees, our backyard will be exposed to the public. And um, the, and so we are highly um, disagree to remove the tree for those 3 reasons. And the second one is about the limited parking spot, because this community is a really good environment to all residents. So as part of the Ash Crescent, we wanted to keep a quiet and a quiet environment. So um, since the condominium is not providing enough parking to their residents, and also we're expecting there will be visitors to the condos, so there will be overflow demand of parkings and more cars will be parked on the street, and the noise and crowd will affect the neighborhood on this street. So and also the safety is another concern for us because there will be more strangers showing up on the street. So with all these reasons, I probably so with all these reasons, the parking is also one of our concern for this proposal. I think that's all from our end.
Thank you. I'll ask members of the committee if there's questions. Councillor Nunziata?
Yes, just a question. These trees that you're referring to, so they're not on your property, right?
No,
It's close to your property. Is that what
it's
you're
really
saying?
close to, yeah, it's really close to my backyard.
Oh, okay, so it's the other side. Did you, I know that there were community meetings. Did you attend the community meetings that were held in the past and expressed those concerns?
No,
No, you didn't? Okay. Okay, thank you.
no worries.
Okay, thank you. Are there any further questions for this speaker? Nope, seeing none, thank you for joining us. Members, I did receive a request from Councillor Morley to go back to the previous speaker for questions. Does anyone have any objections to that? If I could ask the clerks to attempt to reconnect to David? I think it was David. And we'll do if we can get a connection, I'm pretty comfortable bearing the procedure if David is. With that, we'll go to the third speaker, and we'll try that reconnection. The third speaker I have registered is Vanita Indaway from Long Branch Neighborhood Association. Is Vanita available? Okay, clerk's advises we're just making an electronic connection. Vanita, are you available to speak?
Yes, I am. I'm available on video and by audio.
Okay, welcome to the Etobicoke York Community Council. You have 5 minutes to speak. Please go ahead.
Thank you for your time today. My name is Benita Indaway, and I am representing the Long Branch Neighborhoods Association. We have been to the previous discussions with the developer on 2 occasions, so we're familiar with the trajectory of this proposal. Just a couple of points. I sent in a 5-page document outlining all of the detail and the context. I'm not going to work through that. I'm just going to touch on those. But I think it's a good thing to start with the fact to say, first of all, that largely we do support this type of development along the lakeshore. This is not a question of wanting to block development at all. We just ask that it be planful, complete development and respectful of the neighbors. In this case, these 2 lots are very commercial in nature, but much of this section of Lakeshore in Long Branch is small aged retail with residential above. And what we're conscious is that this development is the first of its kind, aside from the mass development on the north side of Lakeshore. And so we'd like to keep this in mind when we're thinking about the fuller picture of what will happen along the lakeshore and the impact it will have on the broader neighborhood. So in this case, what's a great feature of this development is the proposed retail in prime space that will be added. What we are disappointed with is that for a proposal that is 2 full lots, only 2 retail spaces will be added. And some of that is because of the large side of the driveway that will access the parking at the back, and also the lobby space that would enter. So what we would like to suggest is, in this instance and in future development of this kind, we take a page from other cities that have not used prime space on the street frontage for major driveways and for lobbies, and instead make a safe driveway with accessible for the residents to the side or to the rear of the building, and add to the retail space. The city's been promising this for some time. We're really looking forward to it. The biggest objection we have to this proposal is the lack of protection for the tree canopy. Now, I'm willing to be corrected, but my understanding is the 3 trees that the Lus are talking about, the previous speaker, are actually on their property. A fence has been built on the inside of their yard to give them more privacy, but it's my understanding that the trees are actually private property. And so I also would like to hear back from the developer. We support forestry's position that it's not acceptable to take these trees down. They're several stories high. They're major. Replacing them with saplings is not going to make a difference in our lifetime. And it's just a bad precedent to start taking down these trees. Long Branch has seen the reduction of their tree canopy by more than 15% in the last decade, in a time when the city is promoting the tree canopy to expand to 40%. So these types of moves don't make sense. I appreciate that the developer was proactive talking about how to replace them. I also anticipate that part of that is because a mere tree protection zone will not make a difference in this instance, because the proposal is to have the underground parking access and the cement canopy that will have to go over that cut down the grade where the trees currently are. Even if you left them up, you couldn't have a tree protection zone, and that building will sink into the root system of the trees. If you left them up, they won't survive. What we would like to see in this proposal is for the developer to look at the footprint of where they are going to be at the back of the lot and move it back before shovels are in the ground to protect the trees, including their root systems. I know that the proposal, the arborist's report, the developer's arborist talked about the trees not being healthy. I have included pictures in the Long Branch report. You'll see that these trees are very healthy. And, I do get that they will die at some point, but they would be missed for this resident and the 2 residents on either side as well. The picture tells the story. The parking is going to be a consistent concern to the neighborhood. I understand the city's direction in terms of trying to move people to cycling and taking transit. I'm supportive myself as a cyclist, but 30 spaces for 60 residents when the alternatives are not viable. It's just not supportable at this time, so we need a better plan. Long Branch has poor connections going north or west or to Mississauga. If you're not going downtown, there isn't a way to commute efficiently. We're not on the subway line. People are still going to have cars, sometimes two of them.
Can I ask you to wrap up?
Yes,
Thank
the
you.
bylaws in the neighborhood are meant to protect Ash Crescent, which is south of Lakeshore. There's a school on that street. Adding people parking and then commuting is going to be unsafe. So we'd just like you to think about the bigger impact when approving these decisions in this development. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I will ask my colleagues if there are questions of the speaker. Councillor Morley.
Thank you, Vanita, for attending today and for the submission and work on this particular file. I guess part of my question and maybe best asked to the applicant is just around the ownership specifically of the trees that you mentioned, and I understand that this is something that you are also curious about. And just to clarify, do you have information as to the ownership specifically of the trees in the rear of the application?
This
I know
was
we
a subject.
Go ahead, sorry.
Sorry.
I was just going to say, I know we
Myself?
previously had discussed, and my understanding from our previous conversations was that this was the the homeowners to the rear, that these trees belong to them. But what I'm hearing today is that that may not be the case. Can you clarify?
Councillor Morley, are you requesting this of David Huynh?
I'm going to ask David for clarification because I understand he should have it, but I just wanted to confirm that we're both on the same page, that we're not sure.
Yeah.
Is that right? Okay,
Yeah,
great. Thank you.
I think we are on the same page, and I'm actually pretty sure because we've looked at those plans with the developer in the virtual consultation. So I'm pretty confident, but I think we do need to hear from David.
Okay, I will follow up with that question. Thanks, Vanita.
Thank you, Councillor Morley. Are there any other questions? Because I had one. Just reset my time here. Vanita, is the Long Branch Neighborhood Association thoughtful or considered or thinking about policies around trees and developments? Is that a fair statement?
It is one of the major prongs of our mission is to think about the environment and trees and the tree canopy. We've done a lot of work over the last 10 years to collaborate with the city and add to that tree canopy. So yes, that's a fair statement.
Okay. And this is maybe a bit of a rhetorical question. We have to ask them in the form of a question. Are you aware that the city's new housing plan that was adopted in December asks to review the city's urban design guidelines, heritage standards, and urban forestry policies to ensure that they align with the priority of optimizing the delivery of housing opportunities for a range of housing forms? So in other words, are you aware that this is up for discussion, the city's overall policies?
Yes, we are very aware.
Okay, and that's really all I wanted to ask you. Thank you very much. No further questions? Thank you for joining us. I'll just check with the clerks if we were able to reconnect David. Great. Mr. Huynh, are you available online? We did vary the procedure at the request of a councillor to welcome you back to do some questions. Is that okay with you?
That's fine with me, Mr. Chair.
Great. Councillor Morley, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you to the speaker, I just wanted to confirm with you, David, if you could give us some more information about the ownership of the trees in the rear yard, and further clarify what the anticipated impact of this development will be on those trees.
Yes, so through you, Mr. Chair, thank you for the questions raised today. And with respect to the trees, yeah, I can confirm that it's our understanding too that the trees are on the neighbor's property, and that we were made aware of this through obviously the application process. We have filed 2024, and we're issued a tree removal permit by the city, and we've been working with staff extensively to resolve that. And it's also my understanding too that it is the intent of the owner here to reach out to the neighbor to have further consultations about just obviously walk them through the process, but also continue to work with the neighbor to obviously best address any concerns they have. But it is the intent that this tree, because it encroaches over onto the owner's lands here, that it is to be removed. But we will continue to work with the neighbor in future consultation just to kind of explain through the process and to kind of best work through this process with them.
Thank you, Councillor Morley. Are there any other questions of the speaker? Seeing none, thank you, David, for joining us once again. At this moment, I will check to see if there are any other remaining speakers. Nancy? There's a speaker. Yep. If you could just give us your name, because we can register you.
Sure, Robert
Oh.
Gullins.
Okay, Robert, and if you can follow up with the clerks at the end of your speaking. So
I will.
the information. Thank you. Go ahead. You've got 5 minutes.
Okay, I know before I get asked, I wasn't involved in the previous meetings. I associated with a number of other organizations and keep myself extremely busy, and I'm afraid this one slipped through the cracks. Most of the things that I was going to say have already been said. I'm glad they were picked up on, the tree canopy. I never heard anybody mention here about the height of the building and the intrusion onto the neighbors and the privacy. To me, that's extremely important. I'm a homeowner. I'm not boasting, I'm just saying I happen to be. And I think I have a responsibility to my family and certainly myself to look out for it and watch what's going on. Lakeshore, I've been involved in ratepayer issues back since about 1978 and seen a lot of changes go on, many positive, but unfortunately a lot negative, not the least of which is the almost extinction of manufacturing that's gone on. Irrelevant to this, however, you have a parcel of land on the south side. If you compare to what's being proposed for that property as opposed to what you get in Mississauga, Oakville, Burlington, whatever, Long Branch has a distinguished history to it. And it used to be a great location, resort, people come out here. And unfortunately, a lot of the development that's gone on has taken it down. It's not benefited the community. And all it's about, and I realize you got these housing policies and everything, which I will frankly say I don't agree with for several reasons, won't get into that. But I think it's unfair to future generations to do what is happening. I have to say, and unfortunately, I'll be quite blunt about it, as far as architecture is concerned, this thing, I don't know where it would fit in. It's, to me, it's an ugly aberration and not suited at all for where it's going. There's not another single building that looks like that. I mean, this is not Art Deco or anything. This is just something that looks like it's thrown together. And I'm a bit surprised that council would even, well, I guess you have no choice because it's being dictated what you have to accept. But I don't have to accept it, and I think it's a poor choice. If you look at the TD Bank on the corner, you know, it's a very nice structure. It has a little character to it. This proposal has no character whatsoever. I'd be frankly embarrassed to be associated with it. Okay? I don't want to be overly rude, so I'll just cut it at that, and thank you for your time. Yes?
I do have to check if my colleagues have any questions for you.
Sure.
Okay, I did.
Sure.
I wanted to get clarity, as I know the spot. I drove past it the other day. You talked about the architecture of the building. I'm really clear on that. What about the overall massing and size? You mentioned some other locations kind of along Lakeshore and Mississauga, but I wasn't quite sure what you were getting at. Could you elaborate on that point a little bit?
Sure. They've put up a lot of structures. It is a mix. There are some that look just like barracks walls, but typically they're lower elevation, or a lot of them are lower elevation. It fits in a lot nicer. I mean, if you compare Lakeshore, you have a great opportunity to provide a nice view for people that are driving along it. Don't forget the streetcars are going to resume pretty quickly. They're talking about the GO station and other things happening. We want things that are going to attract people to the neighborhood. This is not a particular great attraction, I don't see. I mean, years ago I headed up the ratepayers, and we fought for and achieved the Humber College. As a matter of fact, I was the one that invited Humber College down to look at the campus, and thank goodness they accepted. But many opportunities have been lost in the Lakeshore because of the decisions of councils. And I realize your hands are somewhat tied. This housing policy, we could get into a whole debate about that, not going to. But this particular massing and design of the building and curvature, and I have all the drawings of it, and I'm sorry, it just doesn't fit in. And it certainly doesn't fit in with what's surrounding it.
Thank you. Councillor Morley, I guess I've inspired her for a question. Go ahead, Councillor Morley.
You have. Thank you, Councillor Holiday. And through you, Mr. Speaker, and to you, Robert, good to see you this morning. Thank you for participating in this. Question is with respect to, do you believe that in terms of finding areas for density in the community, because the challenge I think that we're facing as a city is that we need to find more places to build homes, and not all places are reasonable for huge density. Would you agree that the Lakeshore is more appropriate for density than in the residential areas that lead up to it?
Well, let me put it this way again. I'm not boasting. I've traveled quite a bit, extensively, and I do find the European styles much more appealing. They're lower buildings.
Right.
Okay, we have the motel strip, which I'm sure you'll agree is extremely dense. There are other opportunities. I don't think it should intrude on existing communities. Long Branch is one of them.
Yeah.
And I'm right on the border. I actually live in New Toronto, but my neighbor lives in Long Branch. But I have a long history connection with Long Branch. My parents and grandparents grew up there. But that's irrelevant to what we're talking about. But regardless, I think a variety is what we're looking for. You don't need rows and rows of extremely high buildings. The City of Toronto, they made a complete mess of it. I mean, that's and with the new proposals, buildings almost as high as the CN Tower, it's really getting out of control. And I've been in Dubai and I've been in other places. Okay, nice to visit, but I wouldn't want to live there.
Thank you so much, Robert.
Yes.
Appreciate that.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Any other questions? Nope.
Thank you
Mr.
for your time
Nicholas.
again.
Okay, we will bring this into committee. Questions, I think Councillor Crescent, you were the first. For staff questions. 1, 2, 3, okay. Go ahead, Councillor Crescent.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I heard a couple of times the concern about parking. So I'm hoping that maybe staff could shed some more light on that in terms of insufficient parking, not only for the residents, but also for the public. When I look at the site plan, I see about 10 or 11 spots along the front by the lakeshore. So can you tell me how that evolved, and and let me know if there's any further concern. Were the parking issues resolved?
Through you, Mr. Chair, Transportation Services staff are here. They can elaborate on my response. But the angular parking that you have on Lakeshore in this area, it exists. It's part of the character of this part of Lakeshore. So that which is shown on the drawings is only reflecting what's there in reality. In terms of access to the site, there is no other option if we're going to have parking on site, and in this case, it's in an underground parking garage, that it comes off Lakeshore. There's no side street or rear street that this could come off of. There was a traffic impact study done for this proposal, and it's generally accepted that the parking number or ratio of spaces to units is supportable here. So we don't, our division in Transportation Services do not have an issue with access and parking here.
So this was submitted as a supportable plan initially with parking, adequate parking underground and outside.
Through you, Mr. Chair, I mean, you have before you a final report supporting this application, and that includes support for the current access and parking arrangement.
All right, just want to make that clear because I heard the concern from the deputants a couple of times in that area. All right, thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Crescent. Councillor Nunziata.
Yes, if I can just have staff just to comment on the trees that have been brought up. And also the question that was asked about having retail space on the main floor.
Through you, Mr. Chair, maybe I'll start with the retail space question first, or answer first. This part of Lakeshore, yes, it's got small scale, highly detailed local retail along its street edge. This is a new proposal. It's actually of a scale that's not impactful at 6 stories. It will contain or replace retail at grade. In this case, the proposal is 2 units. Doesn't mean it could be different. It's exactly what we would want in terms of a small mid-scale project on a street like this. In terms of the tree issue, yes, there are 3, I think, Manitoba maple and 3 Norway spruces that I believe are on the property immediately adjacent to the south side of this property. An application to deal with those trees has come into urban forestry. I think Max D is here, and he can speak to that. Obviously, if down the road, as part of the site plan control application, there isn't support or approval to remove these trees or injure these trees, it could have an impact on the proposal. And during the site plan stage, we may, for example, have to have the applicant move the ramp to the underground a little further north so that these trees are protected. That's to be determined, but maybe perhaps Max could add to this.
Max?
Yes, through you, Mr.
Yeah.
Chair. Yeah. Through you, Mr. Chair, that urban forestry received an application to remove those trees. That is correct. They are located on the neighbor side, but the crown of the trees and the roots of the trees are boundary lines. So the underground parking, which doesn't require any amendment at this point of time, how it's planned, is in conflict with those trees. So urban forestry did not object to remove those trees because of those reasons and how the city plan and the Planning Act works related to the trees. So in this case, they supersedes the tree bylaw, and the applicant is required to apply for the permit. However, according to our bylaw and procedures, we have to notify the applicant and the neighbor. Those are trees located on the other side, and it's a civil matter between the developer and the owner of the trees to deal with that as a civil matter. According to the tree bylaw requirements, urban forestry will be able to issue the permit if a good replacement plan is submitted. We did already send the first letter to the applicant and the owner of the trees, and later on we're going to send the second letter.
Okay, thank you. That's it for my questions.
Thank you, Councillor Nunziata. Councillor Morley.
Thank you, Max. Through the speaker, this one is for you as well. I just wanted to get clarification about the process around applying to remove a private tree that does not belong to someone, and you were alluding to it and speaking to it a little bit just now, but if you could just highlight for my benefit as a newbie, what does that process look like? And it sounds like obviously there's a path for it. Can you enlighten me?
Yes, sure. Through you, Mr. Chair. When urban forestry receive an application to remove a tree on the neighbor's side from the developer or the applicant, or boundary between two properties, we have a boundary tree policy that we should follow. The first, we send a letter both to the applicant and to the owner of the trees that urban forestry received the application to remove such a size tree, the species, the health condition of the tree, and what is the conflict about. And advise both the applicant and the owner of the trees that his application is reviewing under the tree bylaw, chapter 813. After you complete the reviewing the application and the conflict, an authority on the bylaw to issue the permit or refuse to issue the permit, then we send the second letter and we advise them that urban forestry has completed their review, is going to issue the permit within 14 days, and this 14 days is a time for both the developer and the owner of the trees to deal as a civil matter. After 14 days, urban forestry will issue the permit.
Thank you.
Any further questions? Nope. Okay, I have a couple. My first question, I think, is for planning staff, and it relates to parking. So we did have some questions about parking. I recall that City Council changed the parking bylaws, but the report talks about achieving the minimum requirements for policy area 4. So I'm a bit confused. I had thought that Council had removed the minimum parking requirement across the city. Do we know why it speaks to a minimum requirement here?
To you, Mr. Chair, I think it might be dangerous if I try to fully answer this question, so
Fair
why don't
enough.
I turn it over to Transportation Services?
Yes, hello, good morning, everyone. This is Ashmid Mohammed from Transportation Services. As I understand it, the new parking bylaws for the citywide parking bylaws that have no minimum parking requirement became in effect as of last year. This particular development was initiated, I believe it predated by a number of years this decision. So we would be applying, or we'd be looking at in consideration the previous citywide bylaws under bylaw 569-2013. So the parking was based upon that. So I hope that answers the question.
Crystal clear. Thank you, Ashmead. And just so the committee understands, if applications are received after that effective date of council's decision, then the parking minimums don't exist any longer. In fact, they're parking maximums. Do I have that right?
That is correct. That's my understanding. The new parking ratios would then apply.
Thank you, Ashmead. My second question is again to planning, and it was the speaker talked a little bit about the design of the building, one of the speakers today. Could you help the committee understand, with the new legislation, what say do we have on things of that extent? Like, I understand the legislation has limited us. Does that apply in this case, or does it apply going forward? And if it's still rather new, I get that too, but.
Through you, Mr. Chair, technically speaking, Bill 23 hasn't been proclaimed yet.
Okay.
So we continue to review applications as we previously have. During the site plan control phase, which we're in, the applicant has submitted a site plan control application. Would we look at the materiality and the, how it fits in? Yes, we would. Going down, in the future, this might be a more challenging part of planning review, but right now we're still continuing to do as we did.
Okay, and so the site plan process hasn't concluded. So today, this council is really thinking about the elements of the report, which are the big block massing of the building, the height, the density, the overall shape, the number of parking spaces, those type of things.
Yes, Mr. Chair, that's correct. What's before this committee is the zoning elements. It's not the details associated with site plan control.
Okay, and I guess there was a question raised about trees, and so that in part is being decided elsewhere, because I think Mr. Dita alluded to a civil process, and the outcome of that civil process will inform the shape of the site, I guess, and the parking ramp and that sort of thing.
Through you, Mr. Chair, yeah, the zoning permissions here wouldn't necessarily impact where, for example, the exact location of the ramp may end up in site plan control.
Okay, thank you, that's helpful. Councillor Morley to speak.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. On this file, I have had a few meetings with residents, and I appreciate the ongoing participation of our community members to fight for the kind of community that they want to see. Generally speaking, I am in support of staff recommendations on this file, and I am just wanting to highlight, as a result of the conversation and some of the concerns that have been raised both here and previously, I think, very high importance to community members to support saving these trees where possible. So I will be supporting staff recommendations on this. And I'd like to move staff recommendations. Thank you, Councillor Holliday. And again, just a note to the applicant, we've heard loudly and clearly from the homeowners to the rear that they enjoy and would like to see these trees protected. And so I'm encouraged to hear that some additional site plan can be amended to hopefully support that, which we'd like to see. Those are my comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Morley. Any other councillors wishing to speak? Seeing none, Councillor Morley moves the staff recommendations. All those in favor? Any opposed? That item is carried. Thank you. We're on to EY 2.2, which is 378 to 384 Bering Avenue, zoning bylaw amendment application. Final report. We have two speakers. The first is Jane McFarland. Is Jane available?
Good morning, members
Morning,
of
Jane.
Community Council.
Welcome to the EYCC. You have 5 minutes. Please go ahead.
Thank you very much. So I'm here today. I'm a planner with Weston Consulting, representing XYZ Storage, who's the owner of the lands municipally known as 378-384 Bering Avenue. I'm here today to state our support for the staff recommendations in the final staff report. We've been working very hard with staff over the last 2 to 3 years to ensure we had the proper application submitted, that we've made the proper revisions, including removing GFA, a story from the height, and also limiting the access points and combining and consolidating the ingress and egress on this site. This would be a much improvement of this property versus what is currently there today. We've had a very uncontroversial application path. At our public meeting, I believe we only had one person in attendance, and they were an employee of my client, XYZ Storage. The application for a zoning bylaw amendment is before you today, and we've been working with staff, including planning, zoning, and building staff, to ensure that the instrument attached to the planning report, it contains all the required details that we need for the development. At this point, I'm not going to dive into a full detail, as the staff report contains most of the the pertinent information involved with this application. However, I note that there is an additional speaker, so I'm happy to respond to anything brought up by that additional speaker, and as well any comments from Community Council this morning. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Are there any questions? Seeing none from the committee, thank you for joining us. Our next speaker is Nicholas Ridge. Welcome, Nicholas. You come up to the front.
Do I have to press a button? Oh, it's on already? Okay,
Yep.
great.
Thank you for joining us. You've got 5 minutes.
Okay, I'll introduce myself a little bit first. My name's Nick. I grew up in Etobicoke near Islington and Bloor on a street called Greystone, and my parents have moved to Bering. Yeah, it's the neighborhood I grew up in, and I've walked along Bering, along the train tracks for 20 years. And yeah, I'm against building a new self-storage facility on Bering. Not because it's 5 stories tall or because it will be ugly, but because the area does not need it, and because it goes against the growth plan the city is supposed to be following, so our city planning can, quote, foster community health and individual well-being. The site of the proposal is within the Etobicoke City Center urban growth boundary. The density goal is about 200 residents and jobs per hectare, which is about a person every 50 meters squared. So my dad briefly had an office with 2 units just up the road at 333 Bering. He employed 8 people, had his own office with a balcony, and my mom had an art studio downstairs, all in 357 square meters, about 1 person for every 36 meters squared. The proposed facility will likely employ just 1 person, as self-storage facilities are built around, with over 12,000 square meters of floor space and a lot size just over a third of a hectare. The only listed community benefit of the building is gaining a capital facility. But our community already has 2 self-storage facilities. As of yesterday, Storage Mart has 54 available self-storage units under 2 kilometers from the site, or about a 4-minute drive away. So what are we getting? The lowest employment density possible, 200 meters from a subway and GO station, an oversaturated market of self-storage units, another place we won't be able to build new industry, businesses, housing, parks, or schools, and a middle finger to any young adults trying to move out of their parents' house while staying in the neighborhood they grew up in. This is a community of large, expensive houses with large backyards. Nobody needs self-storage. The city has been getting rid of surface parking lots and building affordable housing on top for years. It's time we started to do the same with self-storage, not build more. Why is it that if I want to live near my parents, my cheapest option is a $1,700 a month 1-bedroom apartment, 25 stories in the sky, or the room underneath them? Self-storage does nothing to solve this problem, which is a problem the city wants to fix. They want to, quote, support housing choice by identifying a diverse range and mix of housing options and densities, including additional residential units and affordable housing to meet projected needs of current and future residents. I don't know why a self-storage facility even deserves a meeting at the city if it clearly goes against their own policies. If our community is going to have a 5-story building with 12,000 square meters of floor space, it would be a loss to build anything other than missing middle apartments. Thank you. That's it.
Thank you, Nick. Are there any questions of the speaker? Seeing none, thank you for joining us today. Okay, we'll take this into committee. Questions of staff. Councillor Nunziata, I had you first.
Yeah,
Please go ahead.
Yeah, if I can just ask planning to comment on the storage facility and the use.
Through you, Mr. Chair, fully understand the deputant's concerns. However, the it's not in a residential zone. I mean, the official plan here designates this a core employment area. The zoning under 569-2013 has it as employment industrial, which permits warehouse uses. It's just that in the list use under that zone, self-storage isn't shown. And so this is a rezoning just to permit self-storage, but this typology of use is absolutely permitted in this area.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Nunziata. Councillor Morley?
Through you, Mr. Chair, to staff, just with respect to one of the points that was made around employment lands and the number of of jobs that they actually create. Could you just clarify for me, and again, this might be a little bit more of a general policy versus this particular application, but is there a minimum number of jobs required to be created within employment lands? Just, yeah, hopefully, does that make sense? Does my question make sense?
Through you, Mr. Chair, to the councillor. Yes, there are general targets under the employment category. I can't specifically comment on how it relates to this geography. There's no question, as said by the deputant, that self-storage warehouse isn't a big employer. It's not.
Right.
We have seen across the city a huge demand for this kind of use. I guess we all have too much stuff. But it relates to changing demographics and other factors. Is this a high employment use? No. But is this type of use best located in this kind of zone? Yes.
Thank you.
Excuse me, microphone. Any other questions? Seeing none. Speakers to the item. Councillor Morley, did you want to move the staff recs?
Yes, I will move the staff recommendations on this one.
Thank you. Councillor Morley moves the staff recommendations. All those in favor? Any opposed? That item is carried. Thank you. Okay, our next item. EY 2.5, 20 Broadoaks Drive and 11 Catford Road, official plan amendment and zoning bylaw amendment. We held this down for Ward 7. Yeah, I'm going to suggest at this point we move the item. Councillor Nunziata moves the staff. Are there any, I should ask, are there any questions of staff on the item? Seeing none. Are there any speakers on the item? Councillor Nunziata moves the staff recommendations. All those in favor? Any opposed? That item is carried. The next item is EY 2.84, 6, 8, and 10 Beamish Drive, zoning bylaw amendment application, request for direction report. We have some speakers. The first speaker is Lucy Falco from the South Eatonville Residents Association. Is Lucy here or Lucy available online? Okay. Lucy, can you hear us?
Yes, I'm here.
Welcome, Ms. Falco, to the Etobicoke York Community Council. You may begin speaking when you're ready. You have 5 minutes.
Okay, thank you. Hello, my name is Lucy Falco, and I'm a board member of the South Eatonville Residents Association, and I live in a condominium at the Kipling Transit Hub. Our association represents residents living in the triangle of land west of Kipling, south of Bloor, north of the GO train tracks, and east of Highway 427. The land within this area is mostly comprised of single-family detached homes, but the majority of residents within South Eatonville live in the high-rise multi-unit buildings with a concentration of residents close to the transit hub. We are not opposed to development, and we look forward to the vitalization of the area that development brings, including the property under consideration. We support and recommend developments on a scale that are suitable to the community and that meet the needs of the present and future residents. Our key considerations are traffic, the availability of retail services, building shadowing, and the provision of public schooling. Our primary concerns with the application for 4 to 10 Beamish are height, density, and parking allowance. The proposed height will cause significant shadowing and nighttime light pollution for the local residents, particularly homes just north of Bloor Street. We believe the parking is insufficient to support long-term life cycles of the new residents as their lifestyles change and they may need a car for employment and family obligation. When they need a car, they'll be compelled to move to find a home with parking. Presently, there is no public school within South Eatonville, and the area plans for thousands of new residents. The area only has one boutique grocer within walking distance, and therefore residents will either need a car for groceries or have food delivered. This type of development fosters a delivery culture as is evidenced by the recent developments in the area, where the new buildings have a constant stream of vehicles delivering food and other goods. We don't believe this bodes for a pedestrian-friendly, vibrant streetscape. The application brings increased density for which the area does not have and will not have adequate amenities to support the influx of residents. The planned civic center and parks cannot support the recreational needs of the thousands of residents coming to the area. We don't believe this proposal is in line with the city's vision for the intensification of the Dundas-Kipling area. We ask Etobicoke and York Community Council to uphold planning's recommendation to oppose the application as presented. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Falco. We have a question from Councillor Nunziata.
Yes, thank you, Lucy. So you are aware that what's before us is that the applicant has appealed and the city planning and is asking for direction to attend, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Seeing none, thank you for joining us. We'll call the next speaker, Kevin White, 6 Points Residents Association. Hello, Kevin. Can you hear us? I think you're online.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, hello. Welcome to the Etobicoke York Community Council. You have 5 minutes to speak. Please go ahead when you're ready.
Okay, thank you. My name is Kevin White, a member of the 6 Points Resident Association. And I would like to just mention, I echo everything the previous speaker, Lucy Falco, said about this area. And I'm equating this building going up to where I live, which is Essex 2, like just a block away. When John Tory had that 20-minute long video that the 6 Point interchange was complete, that said it was going to be more pedestrian friendly and community centric. Well, now all that I think has gone out the window. It's developer centric, not community centric. There's way too many buildings going up here. Some are trying to be like over 50 stories high, like this one here. And when the main building went up beside where I live, there's a private road called Viking Lane. It is terrible for people parking on the wrong side, parking in illegal spots, parking in the fire route, zoom around the corner, disobeying the stop signs and traffic signs. My wife and I go dog walking a bit. There's a couple of times we've come too close to getting hit by a car, just coming zooming out. Uber Eats go there, people park like too far away from the curb, and I expect to see a lot of that on Beamish as well. Like it's going to be the whole street, and right now it doesn't even have a sidewalk on the west side. And there's also the problem where when you're traveling eastbound on Dundas, you cannot turn into Beamish. There's a traffic island there. So everybody will have to go up Auckland or up Kipling and along Bloor, like left on Bloor, which the traffic there is like pretty bad right now on Kipling between Bloor and Dundas. And if you want to leave this building, if you want to go south on Beamish, you cannot go west on Dundas for the same traffic island. Sorry, you can't go east on Dundas. So everybody have to go around the wrong way, turn one way on Bloor, go down to Dundas another way. So those are a couple of things which will add to the density and the danger of pedestrians. Like there's and plus where are they going to shop? 6 Points Plaza is being scheduled to be torn down. And I don't know what's going to happen there. I don't think anybody knows. Like the one grocery store we have is called Farm Boy, which is not cheap. The other one that's sort of close is Urban Fresh, which is also not cheap. So you've got all these new people coming in, the housing now, which is supposed to be affordable housing, but there's not affordable amenities. And when this building was first proposed, they said, I think 34 stories, now they want 52. Like, why do they think increasing it by 60% is a good idea? Probably because they think they can get away with it, because OL team seems to overrule everything we want. They originally had 171 parking spots, now they want 203. And bike parking spots, first they said, I think 252, now they're saying 52. Like, I don't know what's up with that. So there's going to be a lot more cars there and all these deliveries, like the previous person said. And I can guarantee you, a lot of people are going to park illegally in the church parking lot. It's right across the street. They're probably going to go park there, which they shouldn't, or park far away from the road. Yeah, so that part, I don't think the church or other people are very happy about that, because there's going to be illegal parking there, I can guarantee you. And they said in their proposal, this is reflective of a mid-rise. Well, I don't think 52 stories is a mid-rise. I don't know any places in the city that are like 104 floors. Yeah, this all the ones being planned around here. Yeah, I was hoping that the first one's going to be built. Okay, fine, 34 stories or whatever it's going to be, but 52 with no new retail being planned. Because if you look on the plans for all the future developments, I don't see any space allocated or any kind of a grocery store. Like, I don't know where they're going to go. If 6 Points, even if it wasn't being torn down, it's going to be so much busier, I won't be able to support it. Now it's being torn down, you're going to lose like that whole street. There's an accountant on the street. I think there's a lawyer on the street. They're going to be gone. Somebody else may have to find more resources for that too. Yeah, so a combination of all those factors to lead this to what I think is not a good idea at all, especially with the experience we have here on Viking Lane. All the cars like coming in and out, not obeying the stop signs. And on Beamish, so we've made it even worse because you must go out a specific way if you're coming or going from it. Yeah, so 329 units is enough, but 520? Nope, I don't think that's a good idea at all. I don't see any benefit with increasing it that much at all. Because right now, the traffic is not good, it's busy enough, and it's not community-centric at all. It's developer-centric. I've been on those meetings, the city meetings, talking about what buildings are going to be planned, and yeah, they're all of our concerns seem to be going out the window. I hope they don't this time, because I think the building at Starbucks, I think it's 5251 Dundas, that one, I think they reduced their plan by like 5 stories. Okay, it's no big deal, but they seem to be listening to us. Both of these guys do the same thing, just keep it as is. It seems to be just greed. You do not need 52 stories, and because there's nowhere from the park. I don't know where they're going to play. There's only one park right now at 6 Points. It's going to be overcrowded.
Can I
to
ask you
get
to
there, you
wrap
have
up?
to cross over. Yep. Okay. You have to cross over Dundas Street. So all those people trying to bring their kid to 6 Points Park, crossing across a very busy street, will not be a good thing to do. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'll ask my colleagues in the committee if there's questions of the speaker. Seeing none, thank you for joining us today. I'll ask if there are any other speakers on this item. Seeing none, I will bring this into committee. Are there questions of staff on this item? Seeing none, is there anyone to speak? Councillor Morley, I am going to make a comment as well. Yep.
I'd like to move staff recommendations on this this item. We've heard loud and clear from both residents in the area. I know my staff have been engaged with local residents associations as well as planning staff, and they are definitely, I think, aligned in their concerns around the density and some of the other aspects of this application. And so staff recommendations are to pursue the appeal and to continue to work with the applicant to bring this in line, as I understand. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Morley. And I'll just take a moment as well to very briefly express my concerns as well, because this building is right on the border of Ward 2 and Ward 3. Ward 2 happens to be on the north side of the building and would definitely receive impact because of the height of the development and the size of it and it being right on the edge. In addition, the fabric of the neighborhood in Ward 2 is very different. A lot of single detached homes arranged in streets, and you know, that is quite a stark difference from the neighborhood of Ward 2 to what this proposal represents. So I will also be supporting the report, and I would also like to express my appreciation of the people that came out and spoke, because it's important that the community has their say in these types of matters, and to take opportunities like this to let council and everyone listening know how they feel. Thank you. On that, Councillor Morley moves the staff recommendation. All those in favor? Any opposed? And that item is carried. Thank you. The next item is EY 2.11, 14 Atherton Crescent, application to remove a city tree. That is a Ward 3 item, and I'm just going to check with the clerk. We do not have a speaker registered for that. So I will ask if there are any members of the committee with questions on this item. Okay, so there are no questions on the item. Members to speak, Councillor Morley, this is Ward 3.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, or Mr. Chair, rather. Yeah, this is a healthy tree in my community. We have heard directly from the residents on this file, and there have been some concerns raised as this is a rare female ginkgo tree. It does cause a bit of nuisance, including smell and I think some sap, as well as a few other, again, nuisance issues that we've heard concerns from the homeowners here. Despite those concerns, and while we do take them very seriously, we are also very much in support of our tree protection bylaws within the City of Toronto, and this is a very healthy tree. And so for those reasons, I am going to move staff recommendations on this file, that is to deny the removal of this healthy ginkgo tree.
Councillor Morley moves the staff recommendations. All those in favor? Any opposed? That item is carried. Next item is EY 2.12, 15 Albani Street, application to remove a city tree. And we do have a speaker on this item. Annette Martinez. Is Annette available? Yes. Hello, Annette, can you hear us?
Can
Hello.
you hear me now?
Yes, hello, good morning. Welcome to the Etobicoke York Community Council. You have 5 minutes to speak. Please begin when you're ready.
Hi, good morning to all the council members. My name is Annette Martinez. I am the designer of the project of 15 Albani Street, and I represent the owner on this application. So the proposed project consists of a new duplex with an attached garage. The proposed building is designed to accommodate two different large families, one in the main floor with an additional floor space in the basement, and the other one in the second floor with extra floor space on the third floor. So the proposed design was approved by the Committee of Adjustments. We are proposing a double driveway to access a double car garage. The proposed driveway interferes with an existing city tree. Therefore, we are here to request the removal of this tree to be able to proceed with our design. We have tried to redesign the driveway and the garage access to avoid moving this tree. We even had prepared a proposal where we requested to injure the tree instead of removing it, but the planner told us that this will also be denied and we will need to go to a committee to approve the request. So therefore, we kept the request of the removal that we have ongoing since a few months ago. We understand the importance of maintaining green spaces in the urban environment. We are very aware of the positive impact of the trees and green areas in the cities, such as reducing noise, providing shades and cooling, and helping human health, among many other benefits. But in this particular case, we are very tight on the available space for driveway and parking since we are in a compact urban area. Unfortunately, in this case, we are unable to maintain the tree and comply with the parking and driveway design. So the property owner is willing to pay any fees or penalties related to the removal. He is also willing to plant any trees as required to compensate the damage of the loss, if that helps. And these are all the comments that I have from my presentation today. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions of the speaker? Councillor Morley, go ahead.
Thank you so much for your comments today. Through you, Mr. Chair, questions to the speaker. Can you confirm that this is starting from scratch? So the current building on site that will be demolished, is that correct?
Yes, it's going to be demolished and we are proposing a new duplex, a complete new building.
Okay. And are there any additional options or opportunities for you to review your new plan that will support saving this tree?
Yes, well, we tried, and the problem is that the trees are at the front of the property, right where the driveway goes. We even tried, as I said, to redesign the driveway, and then instead of removing the tree, we wanted to injure the tree, but that proposal was also denied. So it's very tight, the space that we have of the lot to move around the driveway, and I wish I could keep it, right? So that's not intention, but since we are tied on the design options, that's basically the only option that we have.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any further questions of the speaker? Councillor Crescent.
I have one. I just want to clarify. Have you already applied for the construction of a new duplex?
We are in the process of the permit application. As I said, we went to a committee of adjustments and the project was approved. And we are in the middle of the permit process, but since we don't have the approval to remove the tree, we can move forward from the zoning review. So we are stuck in that process already. So we submitted for permit, but we can't move forward until we don't have an answer on this.
So did you work with staff to see if, or I'm sorry, with your planners and so on, to see if there's any alternative to maintaining the tree in its place and still do your duplex?
Well, I tried to redesign the driveway. That's what I've been doing. But as I said, the tree is right in the middle of the lot at the entrance of the center of the lot. So either we move the driveway on the right or left side, it will still be interfering the tree. So the tree will still be interfering on the way. The only option that we really had was like make like a circle driveway or something like around the tree, but still we have to injure the tree. So there is no way to just have a double driveway and keep the tree. And then we should not have like a single driveway because we are proposing a duplex. So we are having 2-car garage and the double driveway. So we need the double driveway.
Well, I haven't seen your drawings, but I'm just looking at a photo. Are you maintaining the current driveway and just expanding it to a double?
Yes, basically it's going to be on the same side where it is right now, and it's going to be double. I thought that you have access to the drawings, otherwise I would have sent them, but I thought that the site plan will be handy for you. Sorry about that.
No, just visually, it looks like there's lots of room to do a double driveway. And again, visually, I don't have the exact measurements. I'm just looking at a photo, and there seems to be adequate space for a double driveway to accommodate your construction of a duplex. Anyway, those are my comments. Anyway, thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. Are there any other questions? I do have a couple. Ms. Martinez, can you tell me, did you go to the Committee of Adjustment, or did the owners, I should say more properly, to the Committee of Adjustment for this application?
We went to a Committee of Adjustment with the new proposal, and it was approved.
Okay, can you tell me what the variances were that you asked for?
Yes, so it was basically the lot area. And one of the conditions, of course, was the city tree that had to be removed. But the main were two items, and one was the lot coverage, and sorry, the density, right? So because we're having a duplex, so the construction density is going to be higher than required. So that was those were the main items that we went to a committee.
And so there was no variance on the driveway width or the setbacks or anything along that line. Is that correct? Height?
No, because it seems that we didn't have the driveway width as part of the review, because it seems that it's the size of the driveway is part of the zoning, the permitted zoning requirements, right? So we just, we are having like what is required. So we are not increasing the driveway.
Right. So you're building a driveway within the permitted zoning requirements. Is that correct?
Yes.
It's not part of the application. Okay. And
it's not.
And so my understanding is essentially you're looking to go from a 1-car garage with a driveway to a 2-car garage with a driveway.
Yes, with a double driveway, yes.
Okay. And was the Committee of Adjustment approval contingent on the city's permission to remove the tree? Or is it a separate item?
Yes.
It is.
No, it was part of the conditions. It was part of the conditions, yeah.
So this is really important. So there was no variances sought on the width of the driveway, but the approval for the additional density was granted with a condition that you get approval from the city to remove the tree.
Yes, correct.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions? There's not. Thank you for speaking to us. We'll take this into committee. Are there questions of staff? Seeing none to speak, Councillor Morley, it's in your area.
Thank you. On this file, this is a very mature, healthy tree in our community. It is one that is difficult to replace with, even with our tree replacement policy. The value and benefit that we get from trees like this is part of what makes our community so special. And so I am going to be supporting staff recommendation to deny the permit for removal. And I am going to encourage the speaker and applicant on this file to consider, and I appreciate the lengths and efforts that have already been gone to for this, but I would encourage you to consider a plan that can keep this important tree alive and healthy as you redevelop the property.
Councillor Morley moves the staff recommendations. All those in favor? Any opposed? That item is carried. Thank you. Next item is EY 2.13, 82 Buttonwood Avenue, application to remove 2 city trees. That's in Ward 5. We have a speaker for this. The first speaker is Alexei Marchenko from Ellis Don Corporation. Alexei, welcome to the Etobicoke York Community Council. You've got 5 minutes.
Good morning. My name is Alexei Marchenko. I'm here today as a representative of West Park seeking permission to remove 2 city-owned trees in order to better visibility of the new West Park Healthcare main entrance sign. West Park helps to provide specialized rehabilitative and complex care after life and altering illness or injury. A new state-of-the-art facility is currently under construction, transforming the 27-acre site into an integrated campus to enable West Park to evolve their rehabilitative programs to meet Ontario future healthcare needs. The traffic flow of the new facility relies on a clear, visible pylon signage to direct clients to the campus. The design of the pylon signage to direct clients to the campus starts at Emmett and Eglinton Avenue. This will bring visitors to the pylon we're discussing today as they travel along Emmett. It is at this pivotal juncture that we want cars to follow Campus Road A into the campus rather than carry on into the surrounding neighborhood. For this reason, it is imperative to ensure there is the best possible visibility for this directional sign. Our team has explored and reviewed other locations for the sign. However, after careful review, there are no longer locations suitable as the main entryways into the campus. 2 city trees are currently obstructing the view of the main entrance pylon sign to the new West Park Healthcare Center facility currently under construction. We're asking for removal of these 2 trees to help facilitate visibility for both pedestrians and vehicles arriving in West Park, especially given the patient population. The new West Park Healthcare facility will have increased green space for outdoor therapy, including therapeutic gardens, walking paths, and courtyard. Specifically, West Park has dedicated 2 acres landscape area with 4 different distance walking trails that can be used by West Park, but also by surrounding community. Publicly accessible, privately managed open space. As well, the West Park campus has preserved 103 trees with trunk diameters over 30 centimeters, and 689 trees will be newly planted as part of the existing urban forestry requirements. In addition, the proposed sign will also be surrounded by winterberry holly shrubs. Therefore, the landscape areas on the West Park campus align with the City of Toronto official plan that encourages building more livable urban regions that promote improved air quality. The campus will also aligns with the official plan addressing the requirements of Policy 5, accessible open space and natural areas, compatible with adjacent communities, creating visual and physical connections that integrate campus with adjacent districts of the city, identifying, extending, and maintaining a network of pedestrian routes, minimizing traffic infiltration of adjacent neighborhood streets. The new campus will also incorporate bioswales with landscaped areas to manage stormwater runoff, to significantly reduce direct discharge of stormwater into the city stormwater sewer system. This helped to alleviate any additional strain to the current City of Toronto storm sewer system. The possibility of raising for tree canopy of trees number 829 and 830, that's the trees we would like to get removed, was also investigated. The conclusion reached from the review that the approach would have minimal impact in improving the visibility of the sign. Therefore, we're here today to request removal of these trees in order to facilitate the visibility of the West Park main entrance sign and to ensure patients and their family members have a seamless wayfinding experience at West Park.
Thank you. Are there any questions of the speaker? Seeing none, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you.
We'll take this into committee. Are there questions of staff? Seeing none. Councillor Nunziata.
Yes, thank you, and I will move the alternate recommendation, and staff has a copy of it. So, it's on the screen. So West Park Hospital is a hidden gem. It's on Emmett Avenue off Eglinton, and then there's another access from Weston Road. But for years, it's always been very difficult for people to find West Park Hospital because of where it's located. And so a few years ago, they received funding from the province to rebuild the hospital, which is the rehab center. And as well, we also have long-term care as well on that site. It's a beautiful site. But the question has always been that people, to get to the hospital was difficult for them to find it. And so years ago, I did put a traffic light on Eglinton Avenue in Emmett to allow, with a sign to allow people to know where they have to go. It's because it's really inside where Eglinton Flats is. So that was put up, but it's really important with the new hospital and with the seniors residents that there is some signage on people to get there. When you mention West Park Hospital, you know, people say, where is it? Well, it's kind of, you know, it's hidden, you know, and the mayor has taken a tour of the hospital as well, and it's really amazing on what they're doing with the redevelopment. New hospital, new access point from Emmett Avenue, and as well as signage. So I'm looking forward to the completion of the application because it's years in the making, and I'm just moving the alternate because I think it's really important that we do put proper signage for people to know where to go when they have to go to the hospital, and so that's my motion.
Thank you, Councillor Nunziata. Councillor Nunziata moves an alternate recommendation. I should check any other speakers. Seeing none, Councillor Nunziata moves an alternate recommendation. All those in favor? Any opposed? That item is carried. Okay, moving on. EY 2.14, 94 Prince Edward Drive South. Application to remove a city tree. We have a speaker, Robert Wilson. Mr. Wilson, welcome to the Etobicoke York Community Council.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
You have 5 minutes to speak.
Thank you
Please
kindly.
Go ahead when you're ready.
I'm joined here this morning with my wife, also registered owner of 94 Prince Edward Drive South. We moved into the home, our family of 5 with 3 young children in 2018, to this charming house that we later discovered was structurally in much needed repair, and in fact it was a tear down. 3 years later, we've been working on a plan to which has been approved by the Committee of Adjustment to take the house down and build 2 homes on condition of removal of a city tree. The tree requested to be removed I respectfully submitted a presentation. It's slide number 3. If you have that handy, the tree in question is a Norway maple, which is commonly described as quick to grow and quick to come down. It's an invasive species to the area. They were considered a bully species as they tend to overshade plants and trees around them and are known for having relatively short lifespans in urban settings. Their roots are notoriously shallow, protruding through the earth and damaging any sidewalks or pavement nearby. Although all of the information can be easily found online, we consulted a published guide titled Norway Maple Best Management Practices in Ontario, which the City of Toronto contributed to the production and release of. The Norway maple in question is problematic in several ways. It measures 85 centimeters in diameter, making it a very mature tree, as the requirement for a mature tree in Norway maple is only 50 centimeters. It has an asymmetrical canopy with the heaviest portion positioned over Prince Edward Drive. The roots are exposed and have caused damage to the surrounding lawn and are incredibly hazardous when on foot near the tree. The roots are also girdled, meaning that they are actually constricting around themselves. There's a weak union of codominant stems, which is considered a hazard due to its weak structural strength, making it susceptible to damage in windstorms. The trunk cavity shows signs of poor compartmentalization, which are unhealed wounds that leave the tree vulnerable to rot and insect infestations. There's a presence of water spouts, which indicate poor pruning practices and always produce poor branch unions. There's a presence of dieback, which is when a tree's leaves are dying while its roots remain alive. There's also large vertical blackened crack in the trunk, which we've been told by a tree removal team it is a possible sign of having been struck by lightning. And lastly, it extensively sheds its leaves and seeds both individually and in large branches, as well as drops large and small branches throughout the year. Additional considerations, moving on to slide 4. The request to move this tree was originally made to accommodate our proposed construction, but since the request was made, other considerations have presented themselves. Notably, a comparable Norway maple, also city-owned, of the same size and age and structure, which sat only several feet north of the tree in question, had its remaining codominant stem taken down during a summer windstorm last year, as seen in this picture on slide 4. It pulled down the hydro lines along the street and blocked both lanes of traffic, not to mention it narrowly hit a cyclist. The fallen tree also had a codominant stems, losing the first one in July 2019, also during the summer storm, and also landing across Prince Edward Drive. A little over 2 years later, the remaining stem fell, as seen in this photo here, and those found in Appendix 3 on page 8. The trees we're discussing today is now left even more exposed to the elements without its companion tree beside it. Over the last several months, this tree has caused a great deal of stress to my wife and myself, worrying about the potential consequences when it comes down. We find ourselves checking the wind before we let our children go out to play on the front lawn. We feel this tree is an ever-increasing liability to the city in terms of risk of injury and damage to property. As part of our own personal efforts to ensure maximum amounts of green space on the proposed severed properties, we intend to install a single narrow permeable driveway, which will restrict the amount of stormwater runoff to the street and is considered soft landscaping. The driveway is 10 feet wide, which is 5 feet more narrow than the existing asphalt driveway. In conclusion, we're not real estate developers. We are a family trying to stay in our beloved neighborhood when residential real estate in Toronto is so volatile. We believe that adding another single-family home to the neighborhood is beneficial to the community. We respectfully disagree with the Forestry Department's characterization of this tree as, quote, healthy and maintainable. As it stands right now, the city is at risk of liability, and if and when the tree comes down, Prince Edward Drive South is a very busy street for this neighborhood and directly on the bus route to and from Old Mill Station. In terms of our application to remove the tree, it does not fit within the one-size-fits-all bylaws that Urban Forestry is referencing for their decision. There's aggravating factors that should be considered. The tree is at the end of its natural life. All experts who have seen the tree agree that its canopy is unbalanced and has codominant stems, which is indicative of weak structural strength. Shallow roots make it unstable in extreme windy conditions, which is inevitable given the past storms we have seen. And lastly, a tree of the same species, size, structure, and setting already fell down, causing damage to the neighborhood. Let history not repeat itself.
Thank you.
Finally,
Did you have another sentence?
I'm ready to stop there.
All right, thank you very much. Are there any questions of the speaker? Seeing none, thank you for joining us today. I'll
Thank
take
you.
this into the committee. Are there questions of staff? I'm sorry? Oh, my apologies. Councillor Crescent.
My hand high enough. No, I just wanted to ask you, did you say in your comments that you did get an independent arborist report?
We did.
Okay. And could you just recap again the results of that report? Because I don't have a copy of it here.
At that time, the arborist claimed it was in fair condition.
And is the tree maintainable as per your arborist?
No.
Not maintainable?
No.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Bring this to committee. I'm sorry, Councillor Morley? Question. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Councillor Morley, questions of staff.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. To staff, just with respect to this particular tree, I know staff did join my team out on site to review this tree, and our review of it is sort of in keeping with what we're hearing from the resident. Can you confirm, Max, if in fact, despite this tree being listed as healthy, if it is in decline or not?
Yes, in our review, the tree is healthy and maintainable. There are some, if I may, Mr. Chair, there are some, comments and things back and forth and dealing with the tree called in fair condition, which the arborist hired by the property owner indicated that in our report. The problem is here that the tree is still maintainable. So it's no real issues with the tree to be removed. And by the way, this tree have gone through the forestry operation as well, as the owner mentioned. They went through the forestry operation to remove both trees, and the forestry operation come in, check the tree in front of the property, another tree, CT tree, same species. Because of the health condition of that tree, they decided to remove that tree and did remove it totally. So for the tree in question, the tree is still healthy and have a long, many years to provide benefits for the community. But I understand the owner is looking at that way. He's trying to, to look at his property, to develop the property. That is something. But in our sense, in our review, as a Toronto tree bylaw requirements, the tree is still maintainable.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions of staff? Seeing none, I'll bring this into committee. Councillor Morley to speak.
This one's a little bit trickier for us because of the safety concerns that have been raised and the history of similar trees causing severe damage in the community. This one is not one that we're prepared to support staff recommendations because of the concerns that have been raised and the assessment from an independent arborist about the fair condition. And in my team, although we're not professional arborists, there was a sense that this tree is in decline and has some significant other safety concerns for the community. So I would motion to allow, move the alternate recommendation. Yeah, and staff will put those up. Thank you.
Councillor Morley moves the alternate. I'll check. Are there any other speakers on this item? Nope. Okay, Councillor Morley moves the alternate recommendations. All those in favor? Any opposed? That item is carried. Okay, we have two items left. That is EY 2.15 Haymarket Road and Kirby Road, all-way stop control, Ward 7. Would anyone like to move the staff recommendations? Councillor Nunziata moves the, let me just confirm that I've got that right. Yes, staff recommendations authorize an all-way compulsory stop control at the intersection of Haymarket Road and Kirby Road. Although, anyone else wish to speak? Nope. All those in favor? Any opposed? That item is carried. We have a reopening coming up just after this. So EY 2.18, permanent closure of a portion of Adele Avenue. It's also a Ward 7 item. Would anyone like to move the staff? Thank you. I apologize. We do have a deputant. John Alati. Is John available? John's
Yes, I
online.
am. Good morning, Mr. Chair.
Welcome, John. You have 5 minutes to speak.
Thank you. I don't have much to add. If you're prepared to move the staff recommendation, then I am here to support that. I am John Alati. I'm counsel to the landowner, Oakdale Villages, Ringley Construction. In fact, this application was approved in principle by the OLT, then the OMB back in 2016. There was a revision made to the plan in 2020, which was also approved with the city consent. My client needs these lands to complete its draft plan of subdivision. There's another 15 lots that'll be created. In August of 2017, the city's real estate division declared the portion of Adele Avenue to be sold to my client as surplus. The city's director of transaction services authorized that sale in June of 2020, and in June of 22, my client executed an offer to purchase this portion of Adele. We are just waiting for the city council to approve this. We were hoping it would have been done last summer, but if there are any questions, I was unclear. My client was contacted or was in contact with Councillor Perusa. He may have had some questions. We endeavored to answer all of those. Temporary walkway has already been dedicated on the site, connecting from the street to the north, Fred Young Drive down to the Bulb on Desmond Road. That is going to be replaced by a permanent walkway 6 meters wide. It's part of the draft plan. And subject to any questions, I would respectfully ask that council move the staff recommendations.
Thank you, Mr. Alati. Are there any questions of the speaker? Seeing none, we will take this into committee. Thank you. Any questions of staff? Anyone wishing to speak? All right, may I have a volunteer to move, and I'll be a little bit clearer on this, the original recommendations of the original staff report. And just by way of background to my colleagues, this item had originally come to Community Council. I believe it was approved by Community Council. It went to City Council. City Council took a decision to, does it refer it back to Community Council? Here it is. And so we have to consider this item. And the staff recommendations there are clear. So does anyone want to move them? Councillor Morley moves the staff recommendations of the report, the original staff report. Madam Clerk, there are 2 of them. Got them up on the board there. All those in favor? Any opposed? That item is carried. Now, there is one additional item of business. Councillor Nunziata let me know that she had intended to move an amendment to the staff recommendations on an item, and so I'd like to take a motion to reopen
I'll move it.
EY 2.17.
7.
And that is the stop control at Rosemount Avenue and MacDonald Avenue.
Yeah.
So all those in favor to reopen? Any opposed? That is carried. Could we have Councillor Nunziata's motion up?
The alternate recommendation.
So these are alternate recommendations.
There it is.
Okay, so all of those in favor of the alternate recommendations? 1, 2, 3. Those opposed? 1. That item is carried. That is it. And check with the clerk. Have I missed anything? I think we got it all. Do we have any bills? We do. So just bear with me for a moment. Councillor Morley?
through you, Mr. Chair, I'd like to move that Bills 82 to 86, prepared for the January 23rd, 2023 meeting 2 of the Etobicoke York Community Council, be declared as bylaws and passed subject to Section 226.9 of the City of Toronto Act 2006.
All those in favor? Any opposed? That item carries. One more. You take that. Move this one. You want, okay. Councillor Crescent, he's going to read this one.
That the confirmatory bills to confirm the legislative proceedings of the Etobicoke York Community Council acting under delegated authority at meeting 2 on January 23rd, 23 to be declared as bylaws and passed subject to section 226.9 of the City of Toronto Act 2006.
All those in favor? Any opposed? That item is carried. Check with the clerk.
Subject to adjourn.
Councillor Nunziata moves to adjourn. And that carries. Thank you to the clerk staff and all staff members here for your support today. Have a good day.